Hello, everyone. I'm Leonel August Rodriguez, the VP of Business Development for Access Medical Laboratories. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us on another Access Live, where we bring you insight from leading medical experts. So today, we have a bit of a different format, which has been requested by many of our viewers, given that we are going into the holiday season. We're going to be discussing the do's and the don'ts for Thanksgiving dinner and answering many questions that you've submitted to us. Our special guest is no stranger to Access Live, and he has been requested by popular demand. I've had the pleasure of working with him for over a decade. He is Access's Medical Director of Consults, a world-renowned expert in nutritional therapies and integrative medicine, and has been in practice for over 36 years and has taught thousands of physicians and healthcare providers. Without further ado, we welcome Dr. Mitchell Ghen.
Oh, thank you so much, Leo. I'm all excited. It's holiday. Happy Thanksgiving, man.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, and we're so glad to have you on tonight.
What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about turkeys? 45 million a year are sold just in the United States. But guess what? This year, a lot less are going to be sold. Do you want to know? Before we get into the health thing.
Sure, tell me.
Actually, the price of a turkey is up so much. Many people, unfortunately, can't afford it. That, to me, is sad.
Very sad.
People want turkey. They can't get it because their budget's not going to allow them this week. That, to me, sickens me. But under normal conditions, there's a lot. I'm praying that for those people that don't, we can help them out. If I knew someone that wanted a turkey, I'd go out and buy it myself for them. Anyway. What's going on? What do you want to talk about?
I guess since we're on the topic, let's start with that. Do you know of any cheaper or less expensive alternatives to turkey?
Yeah, you can have chicken. Okay. You know, this time of year, I don't eat. By the way, I have to tell you, I don't even have a turkey. My wife and I, we go for the chicken because I like the taste better. And if you make the turkey real good, you know, some people really know what they're doing and they dip it and all, and it gets fried nicely, it gets juicy inside and that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it could be dry. So for me, chicken is a great alternative. By the way, anything when it comes to Thanksgiving is an alternative. I mean, you can have a vegetable plate, and it's my opinion. Thanksgiving's about being with family and remembering what the country's about and who we are. So anything really can become a Thanksgiving dinner in my mind.
I couldn't agree with you more, but since we're on the topic of chicken, I have to ask, what is the favorite dish at the Ghen household for Thanksgiving, aside from the chicken?
I think we're going to have potatoes, number one. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to have actually some brisket. I love that too. So we're gonna have a little bit of brisket, a little bit of chicken, the potatoes. I love the roasted potatoes. That's a favorite for me. Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to start drooling. Do you have a bib I can borrow while we do this? So that's what we're going to have. The traditional turkey cranberry sauce type of thing is not what we do. My wife being from Czech Republic, there's a bread called hoski. Hoski is unfortunately white flour, but you can make it with whole wheat. And it's like a braided roll. Do you know, like the Jewish challah that they have on Friday night, right?
Yes.
It's much like that. My wife has never made it. Mind you, she's a phenomenal cook. Guess who gets up in the morning and makes a hoski for everyone coming? Just take a guess.
You, absolutely you.
Of course it's me. I make it. So, and when I tell you it comes out of the oven hot, you put some butter on it. I know it doesn't sound like the most nutritious meal, but hey, it's Thanksgiving.
You know, I know. Okay, so on that, right? It just sounds like carbs on carbs on carbs, right? I'm going to ask you the first user submitted question. The first user submitted question is, what are my best options for low carb dishes?
Oh boy. I think the simple answer to that is if someone looks mostly to the protein, it would be the same pretty much as if you were, you know, eating any of the high protein diets or a paleo diet or something like that. You know, you can eat the meat. Yeah, I mean, certainly you can eat fish, you can eat chicken, you can eat turkey. It's the side trimmings that cause the problems, the stuffing, the breads, the the husk, which I talked about, the sodas that everyone starts putting out, the alcohol, all these are the carbohydrate. And if you can push them aside, and of course you use the good carbohydrates as your trimmings, a nice salad, if you want to use a little bit of dressing or homemade dressing would be even nicer. And then you're getting a nice balanced meal. And then you're getting pretty much a low carbohydrate. And it's easy when it comes to Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving traditionally is a protein meal to start with, and then you put everything around it that's carbohydrate. So just scoop off the rest of the things like the mashed potatoes, the good stuff.
You know what? And you haven't even mentioned, you mentioned the side dishes. You did not even go into the desserts, the pecan pies, the pumpkin pies. Oh God, that's yeah. All right. So this next question, I'm very curious to know. What do you recommend is the best time to have Thanksgiving dinner?
That's a good question. And my answer would be at least that completion occurs 4 hours before bed. And a typical Thanksgiving dinner may run anywhere as high as 5,500 calories. You'll pick up maybe a pound and a half. The average in America is about a pound. And the point is, it's Thanksgiving, and if it's not how you eat 28 days of the month. It's not how you eat 2 days of the month, I should say, not how you eat the other 28. And, it's Thanksgiving. People like to sit around, talk, and eat a little longer. But the best time for me is so that there's at least a lapse of 4 hours before dinner, because GERD, reflux is going to be a serious issue for these folks. And for me too. And so let's say if you eat at 5 o'clock and you're done by, let's say 6:30, an hour and a half, 7, the worst, then you don't go to bed to 11, that would be appropriate. If you go to bed at 9:30 and you're eating dinner at 7:30, you're going to have to cut back the amount of caloric intake or the amount of fats, etc., especially if you have any GI distress to begin with. So that's how I would answer that question. It's different for everyone, but you don't want to have a bad night's sleep.
Very well put. Thank you. This question is very interesting. Okay. Why am I not able to digest whole kernels of corn?
Because you didn't chew them. Yeah, that's exact. By the way, that is the answer.
That is the answer. Okay.
Yeah. I gave you the correct answer. I'll take it a step further. The reason you can't digest whole kernels if you swallow them all, first of all, you're not supposed to swallow things whole, just to make you notice of that. You're supposed to chew it up real good. If someone chewed it 15 to 30 times, it would not come out whole at the other end. There's nothing wrong with the digestive process because of the content of the kernel, the hydrochloric acid in the abdomen, assuming that it is even normal, which I will assume it's not always that case. You won't break it down anyway. It will come out. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to do a crude test as to whether or not you have good transit time, you eat corn, open up a can of corn, eat the corn, and if you don't see it in the stool within 8 hours, you have very poor transit time. It's a crude test, but it is a real test.
Good to know. Okay. All right. So
of course that doesn't sound good, because we're talking about Thanksgiving dinner, and now we're talking about looking in the toilet bowl at your poop. So I don't know how good that was, but anyway, that's the way it goes.
Awesome. So let's go back to what you mentioned earlier, that 5,500 calorie intake, right, for your typical Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
So you're overeating, obviously. If you do overeat, right, what do you recommend the best way to get rid of just that bloating, heavy feeling?
One of the reasons that we don't get rid of the bloating is because of what we call hypochlorhydria, a lack of acid in the gut. So there are products out there that you could buy that have hydrochloric acid. And you could take a few of those capsules. The bloating will stop somewhere between 600 and maybe up to 6 of those, up to 3,600. The problem is if you do get a burn in your stomach, you can neutralize it as long as you have bicarbonate in the house. Mm-hmm. To make it even easier would be just take and go ahead and eat your food, but as you do, reduce the amount of liquid that you're drinking, whether it's soda, alcohol, or water, because that's going to reduce the amount of acid. It's like anything else. If I put acid in your hand, it starts to burn. Very first thing everyone's going to do is run to get water and wash and wash and wash with water. You could do the same thing in your gut, but that acid's required to digest that food that you're getting bloated from. So it would be best if you want to do this kind of cool, you can get apple cider vinegar, which almost anyone has, and take 2, maybe even for Thanksgiving, because it's a little bit heavier, 4 tablespoons right before you start to eat. Keep the amount of liquid down. In other words, if you're going to drink an hour before or an hour after, that's okay. But in between, it will dilute your normal hydrochloric acid, including the apple cider vinegar. But if you do that and drop it, the amount of water that you drink and fluid plus the apple cider vinegar, you probably should do great.
Very good to know. I'm definitely gonna look into the cubbies for my apple cider vinegar.
Sounds good.
All right. The next question. If you suffer from high blood pressure,
Mhm.
what foods should you avoid this Thanksgiving? And I have follow-up questions to that as well.
Okay. Well, it's not just this Thanksgiving dinner. If you have hypertension, of course, the first thing someone's going to say is, what about salt? And that's a misnomer, by the way. Actually, salt really doesn't contribute to high blood pressure unless someone is specifically salt sensitive. High blood pressure is another pathophysiology altogether. So this whole salt thing has been wrong. But the foods to avoid, of course, if you have high blood pressure, is anything that's going to make you stuffed. Again, if you eat things in moderation, it won't make any difference. However, something that you should eat that will help is, which is I think a better way of doing this,
Sure.
would be is to, on top of using salt, you should actually get into your home potassium chloride. We usually sodium chloride, table salt. Potassium chloride has pretty much the same taste. It is a salt. It is salty, but the potassium, if you use it instead during the holiday or any day, it will reduce your blood pressure as opposed to increase your blood pressure.
Oh, okay. So season your foods with potassium instead of
exactly. Watermelon as your dessert, with it as being a nitric oxide type of component, will help to dilate the blood vessels and lower your pressure. That will help. Beets in your meal will also have a nitric oxide good consequence and reduce the blood pressure as well. So if you're going to eat the foods that will help you to reduce. But potassium chloride is great. Foods that are high in potassium, people should know, like tomatoes. And believe it or not, white turkey meat is high in potassium. So it sort of offsets all this. And then, of course, you have orange juice, grapefruit juice, figs, dates, raisins, apricots. They're all pretty good. And if you add any of that into the holiday, you'll be getting more potassium. It will be the potassium that will offset the meal that you'll be eating. And of course, the other couple of foods I spoke about.
Excellent. Okay, same question, but now for someone that's pregnant, what foods should she avoid?
Well, I think a pregnant woman should eat to moderation, pretty much anything. I mean, look, I'm not one. I'm not one to tell. Look, if someone's diabetic, you would. But I think again, if someone could stick to the adage, and it's not easy. It's not, if you want to take a week, if you eat one day slightly off or whatever, and the rest of the week you do very nicely, it's a matter of this person's behavioral type of activity when it comes to eating. Pregnant woman can basically eat anything. If she is salt sensitive, she's going to be doing much better with the potassium chloride, like we talked. But why not? Why can't she have a little piece of cake? Why can't she have a piece of turkey and stuffing and so forth, and greens and things that are actually good for her during the prep? Remember, feeding for her is not just that; it's feeding for that baby too. So
exactly, absolutely. This one's another interesting one.
Okay.
I don't have time to cook. I'm buying all canned foods. They contain MSG. How bad is MSG really?
Very simple. I'm not coming to your house to eat. That's my answer. If the canned food has the MSG, and not all canned foods do, by the way. If you get organic on the label, they don't have that. Monosodium glutamate, which is MSG, is an excitatory neurotoxin. It is irritating. It's irritating to the brain. It's irritating to the nervous system to begin with. And it's a glutamate source. It's just not good for people to have to begin with. Now, if there's a little bit in that one particular food, it's okay. And by the way, there are people that have MSG syndromes. They call it Chinese food syndrome because they don't as much use a lot of MSG as a flavor enhancer. And there's, by the way, many names for the MSG, including hydrolyzed yeast, and it goes on and on. But if they're going to eat that, I would say maybe very little. Eating a lot of that there's no way that's helpful. Not only that, but it causes difficulty with thinking. They're not going to be able to process as well. So they'll have Thanksgiving, won't remember they had it. Oh, well.
Okay. All right. So I'm very curious of this because I've always wondered as well, too. Are sweet potatoes healthier than traditional potatoes?
Yeah, they actually are. For several reasons. The white potatoes are part of the Solanaceae, the nightshade family, and the nightshades actually can increase pain in individuals, especially with rheumatoid arthritis and other things. So that's the first problem. The other thing is that sweet potatoes, although regular potatoes have some vitamin source, the sweet potato is an excellent source of lycopene. And lycopene is the stuff that gives the red look to tomato paste, also to watermelon. Very anti-cancer effect, especially in men and their prostate as well. So I would say there's no question. Now, I'm not a sweet potato eater. I have no taste for it, but it is a better, if someone said you only could take one product that's the healthiest, and if the question is good, it would definitely be the sweet potato.
Excellent. Now, since you mentioned healthy, let's look at the flip side of that. What would you say is the least healthy food, traditional Thanksgiving food? I think I have an idea. We kind of started speaking about it earlier in our conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this it's going to be quite easy. We'll start with dessert, which you wanted to go to. Which means you're thinking about that for tomorrow. And that's a problem because if you're already psychologically aimed at it, there's no question the dessert can carry 4,000 to 1,000 calories, depending on what's made. It's extremely caloric. It's extremely sugar. So if you want to say the worst, it would be that. The next down the line, of course, would be the breads. I mean, they're pure carbohydrates. They taint the sugars and things like that. And then the next down the line would be something like white potatoes and the stuffing, pretty much in the same category. And the least down the line, of course, would be your meat, your chicken, your fish, that kind of thing. They would be the least down the line. So
perfect. So
I tried to give you a hierarchy backwards, but you get the idea.
I definitely do. If you had the option, pumpkin pie or pecan pie?
Well, you're asking a question. There's no brainer for me because I don't like pumpkin pie. Okay, so I'm going right for the pecan pie. I think both have their positives. I think pumpkin pie definitely has vitamins like A, E, and a few other things in it. And pecans have certain vitamins too. But you know what? When you start with the pie thing and the sugar and everything else, you're just playing games with your head. You know that. And oh, which one's better for me? Okay, this may be a conversational piece. Which one's better? The truth is, forget it. Eat what you like and eat a reasonable, judicious piece and leave it at that.
Fair enough. The last question. As a vegan, what options do you recommend for me to eat during Thanksgiving that will not put me to sleep after?
Yeah, maybe the right company, your wife, nice wife, or good-looking date or partner or something like that. Maybe you won't be put asleep. In a vegan dinner, of course, if you're totally vegan, I'm going to go backwards and start with dessert because that's what came into my mind first. And since it's the last question, we put the front backwards. In a vegan situation, the raw like ice creams made with cashews and stuff. Oh my gosh, they're not good. They're super. I would drop even the other ones for those as well. Now, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, you can look it up. There are vegan ice creams and vegan puddings made with nuts that taste exactly like chocolate pudding or ice cream. They're not good. They're fantastic. So I would say that would be the dessert category for that person. As far as everything else, a good grouping of vegetables. It's going to be a vegetable dinner. But maybe they can use one of the grains as their basis, couscous, quinoa, something that they like. It's a great base. Put over the base, some nice vegetables, saute them, maybe in a little good oil, of course, like macadamia nut oil, saute like onions, tomatoes, things like that. Mix it all together, or rice if they choose, although that can make you tired as well. They're all going to make you tired. And then with the end of your dinner, if you want to stay up and not be so tired, one thing is always to remove adenine out of the brain. And the way to remove that is by a cup of coffee, organic only, because the plants are all sprayed, and you want organic, but a nice organic regular cup of coffee to finish up the dinner would be lovely. Want to put some almond milk in it, being a vegan, or something of that nature, macadamia nut. That's good. You know what? I even like that meal. In my head, I'm saying I could definitely eat it. Did I answer everybody's? Did I answer all the questions that came in?
Yes, you did, sir. You know what? You actually you kind of convinced me to go and try out some vegan ice cream. I've never had it before.
Oh, no.
It sounded delicious.
Okay, it's not just vegan ice cream, Leo. You want to go and you want to get the kind that's made. There are, like at Christopher's, I don't want to do a commercial for them, but I've been there only once, so but it's up near you in West Palm. For the doctors watching across the country, I'm sure there are restaurants of similar nature, which basically make like these ice creams made from this cash. They're not good. They're amazing. My daughter does it too. I just want to end with one other thing, because being part of Access family for more than 15 years, everyone there, the execs, all my family and friends, and I want to wish everyone an amazing Thanksgiving. If you're watching this after Thanksgiving, because I know that's pretty much when most will watch this, it won't matter what I say now, because things are in retrospect or forward. One of the greatest things I've always found is that they did a study, and it's new, on dogs. And I have 3 dogs. I have 2 giant Pyrenees, and I have a smaller one. When dogs see you, there was a question at once that, do dogs love you? And they actually did a study to measure the love hormone, which we measure, which we call oxytocin. It's the hormone that's released when you're very much in love. When you stay in love, oxytocin is high. After intercourse, during climax, oxytocin is high. It is the hormone, basically, we know of love. It's the cuddle hormone. When a woman gives birth, and she can hold her child because of the release of oxytocin. Dogs increase about 42 to 46% when they see their masters and they haven't seen them, and they're give them hugs and so forth. So for this holiday and all days going forward, one of the things everyone should do every day waking up is, I feel, for you, your family, and everyone there, is gratitude. Gratitude increases oxytocin. And if you want to have it a little more scientific before we sign off, they found that now, it's a recent study, which is horrible, and it's of course a story from someone else. If you were 65 or older, you had like a 70-some% chance that if you had COVID, I'm talking about the shots, the actual COVID, that you would have a cognitive decline, 70-some%. If you're 85 years or older, 88% of those people had cognitive decline. So what was the encampment against that? The same thing God has given all of us all the time. It's gratitude. So wake up in the morning, say thank you for what you have, be grateful for what you don't have, because we all don't have the same thing. And realize during Thanksgiving, when you hold hands or you look at each other, do the thing that's most important. Tell someone or everyone you love, and every day do this. I have great gratitude. I have amazing gratitude for you, Leo, and all the people at Access Laboratory, from my family, your families and friends, and everyone that will watch this. God bless you. And thank you so much for having me tonight.
Dr. Ghen, thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words. It truly means a lot. If I can hug you over this Zoom, I would hug you over this Zoom. That truly meant a lot, sir.
Thank you.
Have yourself an amazing Thanksgiving. Thank you again for joining us. To our audience, thank you for joining us again. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. Take care and stay healthy.